Dive into the heart of Cleveland's business community with the Cleveland Burning Podcast. Join me, Kim Kitchen, owner of Burning River Marketing, and Kirk Teets, owner of Cleveland Custom Coatings, as we explore the untold stories of local business owners. In this engaging series, we focus on the setbacks, accidents, and unexpected turns that pave the way for ultimate success. So just like the Cuyahoga River ignited change in the city, our podcast showcases how adversity can spark innovation and growth. Hear from passionate entrepreneurs who have braved the flames of failure and emerged stronger and more resilient. Get ready for candid conversations and a behind-the-scenes look at the business landscape in Cleveland. What's up, Kirk?
Talked to a financial planner. Figured going into the new year, I'd try to see where we're at and if I could plan for the rest of my life.
Good idea.
And we did all that. We crunched the numbers. We took everything I had. We went through all the numbers, and I found out there's good news.
Good.
There's good. I don't ever have to work ever again, ever. We mathed it out. That's providing I die by next Thursday. Because if I make it till Friday, I'm going to need my paycheck.
All right. Well, I hope you don't die by next Thursday. But good job visiting with a financial planner. Welcome to the Cleveland Burning Podcast, where we dive into stories of local professionals who've braved the flames of adversity and emerged stronger than ever. I'm your host, Kim Kitchen.
And I'm Kirk Teets, and today we're interviewing Christensen from Vroom Groom Mobile Detailing. He does a mobile detailing service. I've used this service a few times, Kim.
I have too. It was
Does
very
a great
thorough.
job. We've played soccer together. Mm-hmm. We were on the same B&I group for a little while. That I quit.
Okay.
I figured I'd just put it out there for you this time.
We miss you.
Yeah, we do miss you.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm like mold. I grow on you over time.
It's true.
You know, the first one to get there, they didn't want me there, but you know, then I left. They were like, "Why are you leaving?" No, all kidding aside, Zach does a great job. I know he does ceramic finishes, interior, exterior, come right to your door. You don't have to go. You want to go to work, you can go to work. Mm-hmm. He'll show up, do it in the parking lot, brings everything with him, completely self-sufficient, brings water and everything he needs to do the project. So good experiences using his services, and I'd highly recommend them to anybody.
So I don't know if our viewers have caught on yet, but I'm a pretty simple person, so I don't really have nice cars. But when Zach was a new member, I was like, well, I want to try out a BNI member. He comes to my house, and this is the Element, 2008 Element. He did an awesome job. It took him like 4 hours, and I was thinking like, oh my gosh, like what, this is just like it's just a box. Like, what are you gonna? But it looked like it was brand new. I was so impressed. I was so impressed.
I was too. You know, honestly, that 2008, yeah, it was over.
I know.
It's getting up there in age.
I was taking pictures and emailing them to everybody, like, look at my new car. So it was cool.
2008 is like Henry Ford made that or something.
Right.
Just about.
Exactly. And I know Zach, through listening to him talk about his business through BNI, is that he doesn't just detail cars. He's got some customers that have boats and even some planes.
Yep, I have a couple planes that I take care of.
So tell us about Vroom Groom Mobile Detailing.
So Vroom Groom Mobile Detailing started in 2016. I was working it on the side. I worked for CarMax out in Salt Lake City, Utah, and that's where I got a lot of my expertise. I knew how to follow a process, put a process together, and be efficient with everything. And and then pandemic hit. We moved out here. My wife and I moved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and started fresh. Started the business in a new market during the pandemic. So
that's so cool. I'm glad you found BNI. How did you even know about the networking group?
So my wife's cousin out in Utah, she was pressuring me into joining a BNI out there.
Okay.
And so I was aware of BNI, and I was working full time, and I was running the business on the side, and I just didn't have time, and I didn't feel like I could meet the commitment.
Right. It is the time commitment for sure.
To join BNI. And so when I came out here, I started just doing the Google page and the Facebook page, and I wasn't really getting a whole lot as far as leads coming in. And so I researched BNI chapters, and I came across True North, and I came across a couple others and visited. And within 2 visits, I
Was it between us and Brecksville? Because I know you love Brecksville. You're down
No,
there
it was
subbing all the time.
actually West Side Connections.
Oh.
Believe it or not.
Well, we
Brecksville wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you made connections down there too, because you get a lot of business
Yep.
from those people.
From both those chapters as well. I have a couple clients. So
That's awesome. And now, how it seems like you've been growing pretty quickly. I know a couple of times you talked about how you needed to hire some people. So, like, how has your business grown since you moved out here in the pandemic?
So when I started, so in 2020, I probably did a total of 50 or 60 cars.
Okay.
And half of those were repeat, like they were on my maintenance schedule and everything like that. Since then, I've probably done closer to 300 or 400.
Wow. It's like, you mean like in 2023 or since you started?
Well, I would say in 2023, I did close to 300.
Wow. Nice. And
Zach,
boats,
I got a
like-
question. So you show up where the vehicles are and do the work.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do boats? Do you have a boat? You get on the boat, go around and clean the boat?
So the way boats work, if they're at a marina, I bring all my stuff from my truck and bring it onto the dock, and then I just mainly focus on the top deck. So
Okay.
I don't do
You're
the
saying that
holes.
like I know anything about boats,
I don't
but that's
do
the
the
part above the
holes.
water?
I do everything
Okay.
above the water. If I can't reach it from the main deck, it doesn't get detailed when
Okay.
it's in season. Now, out of season and it's pulled out of the water and it's in storage, that's when I do the whole.
That must take all day.
Oh,
I
it
think.
takes
I mean, if you-
multiple days. If
yeah,
I'm
okay.
doing,
So you do a lot of them out of the water.
I do, but I've also done.
Well, that probably helps me because I was going to ask next how you do a plane.
when it's on the ground.
Oh, thank God you straightened me out on this.
I don't think Kirk should go into the detailing business. No one would give him insurance based on his question so far.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, you know a little bit about the theme, right? And you've told us you went from 50 cars the first year you got here to 300. So, you've experienced a substantial amount of success. We're assuming, just based on the theme of our podcast, is that what we've noticed is most people, in order to experience success, they made a few mistakes along the way. So, were there any like failures or mistakes that you made along the way to your success?
So my main failure that I've thought about, for the longest time I grew up, I had to go to school. I have to go get higher education and all of that. And I did that. I went to community college out in Utah, and I struggled. I have a hard time. I'm not a good test taker. I learn and I can apply things, but when I'm under pressure and there's a time limit,
Yeah.
I seized up. And there was one class in particular I actually failed twice, and the third time I passed it barely, but I was like, yeah, school and I don't agree.
Okay.
And I got done, I got my piece of paper, I got my associates in business, and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So my failure is school.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's
know,
true. I
and-
think that's important to talk about, because I think a lot of kids, they think that's the path. And, it isn't for everybody, especially if you're not a good test taker.
Right.
There's so many things you can do with your time that don't involve having to put yourself through that kind of torture.
Exactly. And the other thing too, I struggled with this with school, was that I was having to take courses that weren't applicable. It's like, where am I going to use humanities in my business? Where am I going to use how to write an essay in my business? Yeah, I can write emails, but
Kirk writes essays for painting jobs, I'm sure. It's true.
Well,
Even to get into college, don't you have to write an
you have
essay?
to write
Like,
an
what's
essay.
the point?
right.
They should be overhauling that whole system. So how much did you spend on school? Was it like a big failure?
12 grand.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I mean, luckily I went to a community college. I didn't go to a 4-year school.
Right.
So
It could have been worse.
it could have been a lot more expensive. But
So
and
what, did you get your associates in like business?
Yep. I focused on business, and all my business courses I did really well at. And so I knew I had a knack for business. I understood the mechanics that go into running a business. Now, applying it has been a learning curve. I mean, running your own business is not for the faint of heart. It's,
Amen to that.
you know, because we hold so many hats.
Right.
We're the technician, we're the accountant, we're the marketer, we're, you know, we're the tax person.
Yeah.
You
You're
know,
everything.
We're everything.
So tell me, like, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I think setting your prices is always, especially when you first get into business. Like that was what we did an episode on my failures, and one of my failures was I wasn't charging enough. There was no way for me
Right.
to stay in business if I didn't charge more money, and I actually shut down my business and went to work for somebody before I got the confidence to actually charge more money. And then I went back to business for myself again, charging more money, and people still tell me I don't charge enough.
Right.
So, you know, and I know for you, when I was like, well, how much is it going to cost? You're like, well, like $200, $300. I was like, oh my God, like I don't even need a clean car. Like, but you're in BNI and I wanted to support you. But then when you took 4 hours to clean my car, I'm like, you're not charging enough.
Right.
So how did you determine to set your prices? And did you ever feel like, you know, maybe I think that's a common failure that people first getting into business, they either charge too much and they don't
Or
get
too
enough
little.
business, or they charge too little. So how did you navigate through that?
So I actually had a connection out in Utah. He ran one of the bigger mobile detailing companies out there, and I reached out to him. I said, so how does the pricing structure work? And he says, first, take all your products, break them down per ounce,
Okay.
and what it costs per ounce per product that you use in a detail. So figure out your cost, and then figure out how long it takes you,
Time.
and think about what your hourly wage that you want to achieve. Now, whether it takes you, you know, only 4 hours versus 6 hours, that's where you're gonna have the fluctuation.
Where you might make more money
Where
because
you
you're
make
more
more money.
efficient, or the car isn't
Right.
a piece of shit like mine was.
And so with that being said, I mean, I'm a numbers guy, and I'm a car guy, and I look at, you know, power numbers, and I look at that information. So for me, that was fun.
Yeah.
That's really weird, but it was fun to actually break it down. It's like, oh, this 16-ounce bottle costs, you know, $18 of product. I'm using maybe an ounce, maybe 2 ounces at the most. So I'm spending, you know, whatever that breaks down to just on that one product. So for me, it was knowing what that baseline cost was, and then knowing, okay, I know what I'm worth because I know what I was making at CarMax or at my jobs per hour, and I said, I want to make at least double that
Yeah,
an
right.
hour.
Sure, fair. But I know that there's other, you know, detailers that, you know, if you go on Nextdoor or Facebook, then somebody will be like, oh, for $65, I'll clean your car.
Right.
You know,
And that's a car wash. I'll tell you right now,
Yeah, tell us.
they're not
School us
going
on that.
they're not going as thorough, and they're not really detailing. They're wanting to get that car done in 2 hours max. They're not
Yeah.
going to spend. And now it's not the high volume car wash, say the do it yourself or whatever, because you can get that done in a half hour.
Right.
So they're a little better than that,
Wow.
but you know,
There's such a spectrum of car
There
washing.
is.
Like I've really never thought about it. I go to Sergeant Clean like maybe once every 6 months if I'm gonna have somebody in my car, and I'll just go use those free like vacuum cleaners. And then there's what you do, and then there's something in between, which is what
Right.
you're talking about.
Right.
It's like the $65 detailing.
You're leaving out the rain comes every, you know, does a really good job on my vehicles.
Right. Well, I know there's a lot of people that value a clean car, and I know in BNI, you know, I'm not one of them, so I'm probably the worst person to have a conversation with about car detailing. But I know that people in BNI, I mean, it's a life-changing experience for them, especially when they have kids. You know, you get a new car, and then you got kids, and the kids destroy it with their snacks and their gym, you know, stuff, and then you take trips, and they always say that, you know, you made them feel like they had a new car again.
yes, and that's what I strive for. That's my main goal is, you know, I want to bring it back to the highest quality, you know, as close to brand new as I can. I mean, now once the car's a year or two and it's been loved and it's been used, you know, it's not going to be showroom.
Right.
I mean, I can get it pretty darn close, but it'll never be showroom. That's just a fact. With the car sitting out in the sun, with just wear and tear. I mean, things aren't built to last anymore,
No.
unfortunately.
Well, and I know you deal with some higher end clients that have one of yours that I've heard of. You know, they have like multiple cars and like a heated garage and like
Right.
sounds like he's super bougie. But when I hear that, like I don't know, I've got a weird brain, so I think like, well, working with somebody with such valuable things, like, do you ever get into issues with insurance or liability where someone's like, oh, you scratched this, or have you ever had to worry about that?
So I have not run into that.
Okay, thank goodness.
Knock on
Yeah,
wood,
right.
you know. I try to take a couple before pictures, especially in trouble areas where I know, okay, I could potentially scratch here.
Right.
Or I could probably not get this scratch out, so I need to take this scratch out
Right.
and see and show them like, hey, this is what it
This
looked
was
like
here
before.
before. Yeah.
This is the improvement, or I made it worse. And then, but as long as I have before, and then I'm upfront with the client that, hey, this may not come out. I'll work on it and I'll attempt it.
Right.
And with this industry, it's all about setting expectations with the client. It's always setting the parameters, setting where my limitations are as a detailer. You know, there's some points where it's like, oh, this is out of my wheelhouse. This needs to go to a body shop.
Yeah, body shop. So they'll kind of talk to you at the beginning and say like, I'd love for you to buff this out or buff that out or this, and you'll just have to tell them from the beginning like, I don't see that coming out. Like
Right.
that's further down than the surface or whatever.
Well, when someone
Talk,
calls
you
me
have.
initially, I ask them 4 main questions. What's the vehicle? When was the last time it was detailed? Are there kids or pets that are in it frequently? And is it garage kept? Based on those 4 questions, I can pretty much nail down what package they need, and I can come up with my price right then and there.
I can't help but think that if you didn't know me and I had this conversation with you and I answered those questions, you would be like, "Yeah, I'm not taking this job.
No,
it's not
so
garage
I
kept.
won't. I won't.
I haul wood in my car." Like,
Yeah, I haven't refused a ton of work.
Okay.
I'll tell you right now. There was a job that I was called to do. I was actually asked to do a tractor trailer.
were they selling it or something? Like, why would
No,
they want it
just
detailed?
He just wanted it done. He was going to be down. He knew he wasn't going to have a load to pick up for a while, and he said, "I want my cab done." And I said, and we went through the questions, and I gave him well, he answered the question, when was it last detailed, with, "Oh, I've owned this truck for 12 years and I've only had it cleaned once."
Eee.
And I'm like, I'm gonna refer you to someone else. But that was
Did
one.
you get him to a car salesman? I
Yeah.
think you need a new car.
No, I did not get him into a new truck, but
Oh, when you say tractor, you mean like a tractor trailer? Like, I
Yeah,
was thinking
a
like a
semi-truck.
John
Yeah,
Deere.
a semi truck.
Like, why would someone want a John Deere to
No.
be like,
Right.
I don't know. To me, that's a tractor.
No, but
Sorry.
I've had that come up too. It's like, oh,
Okay.
can you wash my tractor?
I know. I live down in Lucas, down near Mansfield, and a lot of the people drive tractors to the store and to
Yep.
school and everything. Even the young kids,
Yeah,
you see
in
driving
Maine, you
tractors
see
around.
tractors on the
So I
road.
wouldn't be shocked if somebody down there wants their tractor detailed. That's how they pick up their high school date.
Right, that's right. Well, wait, that song, She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy, is that not about like a John Deere tractor?
That's exactly what it is.
Exactly what it
Right?
is,
Like,
yeah.
so that's what I think of when a tractor. So do you have any other failures that, so far you haven't ruined anything in Ben's
Nope.
food, so that's good. We're knocking on wood.
Yep.
You set your prices well, so you haven't had to like fluctuate with that because you got some good mentoring with that. And you're just continuing to build your client base through referrals.
Yep. Most of
How about hires? Like, have you had any bad hires?
So I had someone working with me seasonally, and he would go back to school, and mostly it's hard to find someone who, number one, has the passion to work hard, but also is still teachable. that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone who has the passion, but who is teachable, who wants to learn this trade,
Right.
and then wants to learn the tricks and doesn't want to get set in, okay, I know it this way. This is the way I'm going to do it.
Right. Well, because that's like, I know for my business, that's where I'm at in order to make my business scalable. And I know you've got a little one at home, and in order for you to take time away and spend with the family, you need somebody else doing, your clientele continues to grow, your list keeps getting bigger, but you can't always be the one detailing.
Right.
So you got to find people that, will do the detailing while you can do other stuff.
Right.
And I imagine that is probably going to be like that's going to limit your growth. So you got to
Right.
find someone that's just like you.
Yep.
So you start selling your time, but then you run out of time and you still need money, so you sell other people's time.
That's right. That's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what. Yeah, we need to be like you.
Yep.
And then you can hang out and do podcasts on Friday.
That sounds
No, but
great.
to answer your question, the other failure that I would say, I did have one situation out in Utah. I was working on a BMW, and it was winter. It was right around the time that the seasons were changing, and I thought nothing of it this day. So I had gotten off CarMax. I got off at 5. I showed up at his apartment. He gave me the keys. I worked on his car, and I had washed the car. I did the final rinse, and the car was frozen shut.
Oh.
And I don't know how it locked because the key was in it.
Oh. Yeah.
And
Usually
those BMWs have a
can't do
key
that.
fob. They shouldn't lock,
Yeah.
but it locked on me. And I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
oh no. And so luckily I forget which I had. I either had a heat gun or a hair dryer. I don't remember what I had, but I ended up using that tool to defrost the door handle, so that the sensor would work to unlock the car. But it was a half hour to get into the car.
Did the client ever know?
And I did tell him, I says, I would have been done about a half hour earlier, but I froze your car shut. He's like, what? And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No worries. It defrosted.
Yep. And so I was able to get in and start the car and let the car thaw out. But
Well-
that's been the one so far. That's been the one.
So not much.
Not much.
Not much like I guess damage.
No.
Everything's been replaceable.
Right.
Well, when you start working with more people, though, I bet that you'll run into that more often because your people aren't going to be as smart as you, and they're not going
Right.
to take the same type of care as you. So we'll have to interview you again in a couple of years when you got a couple of people working for you. So we do like to leave on a fun note. So what's going on with your business? Is there anything that we can maybe like help promote for you, or anything that listeners can maybe help with?
So right now, mostly I've actually restructured my packages and adjusted my pricing. You can find all that on my website at vgmdetailing.com.
vgmdetailing.com. We'll put a link in the description.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yep. And that's the biggest thing. So
So ideal client is really somebody that probably has a nice car but also has kids, or somebody that's like there's messes. Messes are being made in the car, and you do like just like cleaning your house, you do like a deep clean the first time. That will be a little bit pricier, but then you maintain it.
and then I maintain it.
That's what you have a maintenance program
Yep, I
that
have
you
a maintenance
could say, here's how often I think you should clean it, and here's the cost of that.
Yep.
And do you give a little bit of a discount for that?
A little bit. So I offer 2 different maintenance plans. I have one that's 6 to 8 weeks. That's about $100, and then
That's not bad.
and then 6 months, so twice a year, and that's $175.
That makes sense because it's going to be messier, so it's more work.
Right. But it's not going to get as messy as when I initially see it.
Right.
So
I never went into the maintenance program with the element. I was just really excited that it was like cleaned the one time, and I was like, oh, okay.
well, and I only did the outside of that car.
I know. Well,
You wouldn't let
what's
me
the
touch
point,
the inside.
I mean, there's still dog hair in that car from like the person I bought it from. Like, it's just not, for me, cars are functional. I know for you, you have a love for vehicles. Like, I mean, you shared that with us in the chapter, and I just don't. Like, I just see them as like a motor and some wheels that get me from point A to point B. So, but thank you for
no
being on our podcast.
Yeah,
Kirk,
thanks
did
for
you have
having me.
anything that
great
you wanted to
having you.
add?
No, I think, like I said, I think he does a great job. You'll put his links in the description.
Links to all
and
the
I
stuff.
highly recommend him.
Yeah. One of the ways that I would recommend to any of the listeners is some of our BNI members have actually brought Zach to work, not like bring Zach to work day, but if you run like a mortgage company or an insurance company, it's a great employee incentive to have Zach out there. They basically pay for Zach to do their car detailing, and I mean it's like a huge gift. I mean
Yep.
that's a great way too for you to just spend the day detailing a ton of
Oh yeah,
cars in the same location.
I know where to set up, and the setup time is a lot less in that situation. I can knock out two, 3 cars maybe.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, and then for the person who's getting their car detailed, they just show up to work, they do their job, and then at the end of the day,
Right.
they sit in
They
like
sh-
this awesome brand new vehicle.
Yep, they
Feels like
brought their car. It was dirty, and then they walk out at the end of their day, and
it's
that's
all
a clean
clean.
car.
Yeah, that's gonna be really cool. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to share your failures and the success of your business, and we hope our listeners are as inspired as we are. I picked a quote this time that's from Michael Jordan, because who doesn't love Michael Jordan? He said about failure, he said, "I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something, but I can't accept not trying." So pretty motivating. Don't forget to tune in for more interviews with local professionals as we continue to explore twists and turns that led to triumph in the world of business. And if you enjoyed today's episode, which we hope you did, then please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Yeah, and leave us a review, because we think it's that kind of helps to reach even more listeners. So until next time, remember that every train wreck can be a stepping stone to something extraordinary. And thanks for joining the Cleveland Burning Podcast.
Thanks for
Zach.
coming.
Yeah, thank you.